Hey, just wanted to make a video describing to you the rationale of my decision to cancel classes. As you know, I've canceled classes this morning, I canceled classes yesterday. I'm going to cancel classes again tomorrow. And the reason, as you might guess, is because of this coronavirus thing. Um, I don't have coronavirus. I don't think, as far as I know. I don't have any indications that I do. Nobody in my immediate family does either. Um, Nobody I know does, as far as I know. But that's the insidious thing about this virus, is that you can carry it and be asymptomatic, that is to say, have no symptoms for many days. Um, and you can spread it during that time as well. This is one of the things that makes this such a pernicious problem for our society right now, is that there's so much uncertainty that it's really hard to know how to react totally appropriately. And when you have such a wide window of uncertainty about the sort of state of affairs, I think that it's best to act in such a way that you're erring on the side of caution rather than on the side of disease and death. That's why I'm deciding to take these sort of precautionary measures of canceling classes. I know for many of you as young people with robust immune systems, this is not something you really need to worry about personally, right? This is something that, although it's much more dangerous than, like, let's say, a seasonal flu, it really only kills, as far as like I think the data from China suggests, it kills like 1 in 1,000 person of your age in their 20s who gets this virus. I am worried about you. I don't want you to get the virus, of course, but the people that I'm principally worried about are folks that are not in our class, that are not in our classroom. I'm worried about the folks, your parents maybe, and your grandparents, people that you are going to be presumably visiting, let's say on spring break or something like that. I don't want them to get the virus, and I don't want the origin of that virus to be our class. I don't want to be a part of that. There are also people who are your age and my age who are immunocompromised in some way. This can come from cancer treatment, for example, or any other number of other sort of medical maladies that might afflict people right now that will cause their immune system to be greatly reduced in efficacy. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we are protecting those people too, because those people are part of our community as well. This isn't just about us. All right? This is about the community as a whole. Okay. Like I said, I want to err on the side of caution. And there's so much uncertainty right now about what's going on. The number of people that are infected, who's infected, and what we should do about it. That, like I say, erring on the side of caution, I think, is the way to go. From what I have seen, I've been paying close attention to what I've been seeing in Italy, to what I've been seeing in Spain, the Netherlands, Germany, UK, China, South Korea as well. All these different countries with sometimes radically different experiences as a nation with this disease. It seems to me that the United States and our response to date has been much more in line with a country like Italy or Spain. And what we see there is an exponential spread in the number of infections from day to day. I don't know what the precise growth factor, if you like, is from day to day, but it appears to be that this infection is spreading at an exponential rate. I've seen some reports that sort of behind closed doors, people are saying that nearly half the population, or a third to a half of the population in the United States, is susceptible to this thing and might eventually get it. You see numbers coming out of Germany from the German government saying that 70 to 80% of their population might get this thing. And if you believe in the fatality rate, that's a lot of people. Now, all of this, I understand you might be feeling a little bit in disbelief about, given the numbers that we've seen. I mean, it is true that so far we've seen maybe 100,000 cases worldwide of the coronavirus infecting people. And we've seen, on the order of a few thousand deaths maybe from this thing. But it's very important to understand that when you see an exponential process taking place, well, one of the things about an exponential process is that it has a way of sort of sneaking up on you before it overwhelms you. So I guess what do I mean by it? This is a very mathematical topic. It's an exponential function from day to day. What do I mean when I say that it has this property of sort of sneaking up on you? Well, imagine that you have an exponential, imagine you have a disease, which on day 0 has infected one person. Okay, you can imagine. And then every single day, the number of infected people doubles. You can imagine that as well. So on day 1, you'll have 2 people that are infected. On day 2, you'll have 4 people infected. On day 3, you'll have 8. Day 4, you'll have 16, etc. Well, it's hard to see when you're in those early days. It's hard to see what the outcome of that will look like, let's say, in 30 days, unless you do the math. And if you do the math, what you see is the following. So what I'm going to do is just write a real quick Python script in this terminal here that you see. So I'm going to fire up Python, and what we're going to do is model this exponential growth just by computing the numbers of the form 2 to the ith power. I represents the number of days since the initial infection, and we can see what happens, let's say, in 30 days. So what I'm going to do is issue a command here for I in range 30, and what this does in Python is it sets a variable called I, and it runs I through the values starting at 0 and running through until it hits 30, and then this process will stop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print 2 to the ith power, and this is the somewhat unwieldy notation in Python for doing powers. Pow 2 comma I. Okay, and what we should see now is a list of numbers, and indeed there we go. And what we see is, as we said, on day 0 we see 1 infection. On day 1 we see 2 infections. On day 2 we see 4, etc. And we can see that when we're in the thousands even, it still feels like a sort of modest problem. And this is maybe where we are in the curve right now as a nation, right? I think something more like right here is where we are as a nation. But wait a couple weeks, okay, and allow this process to go unfettered, and what you see, okay, is, like I said, it feels like a small problem now, but what you very quickly see in a week, so let's see, what is a week from here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In a week, we might see hundreds of thousands of cases, 260,000 according to this model. And this is assuming a doubling rate, so it'll probably take a little longer than that, because I don't think that the rate of infection is doubling every single, not the rate, but rather the number of infected is doubling every single day. That's probably not accurate, but this is just a dumb toy model to get you to understand the nature of exponential growth. In any case, what we see are these numbers. They start out modestly, but then in a few days we see them exploding in value, and that explosion just keeps happening over and over again until what we see on day 30 is something like 536 million cases. Now, obviously, there aren't 536 million people in the United States, but if you think globally about the nature of this exponential growth, maybe this seems a little bit more plausible. Gosh, I don't know. And if you assume something like a 1% fatality rate from coronavirus, then 536 million infections might mean something like 5.3 million deaths. That's a big number. That is a very, very big number. And it's the outcome that we want to try to avoid, or that at the very least I want to try to avoid. And that's why I've made the decision that I've made. Okay. There is so much uncertainty. I don't know how this thing is going to play out, but I'm erring on the side of caution. Okay, so what does this class look like going forward? What I'm hoping is that in place of this terminal here, I can put a document camera, which I don't currently own yet, but is flying through the air through Amazon to my doorstep, hopefully today. And I can project a piece of paper with my writing on it as part of this video. And we are going to do our lessons that way. Okay. It's not ideal. If it was ideal, I would have done this months ago. But I think it's a good compromise. I think that, I can still teach you a lot of stuff about calculus that you need to know for your life through this kind of medium. It's disappointing and frustrating that we have to do this. I would rather not. I'd rather be there seeing you guys face to face and working with you, but I just don't think that that is prudent. Don't worry about homework or quizzes for right now. I'll have to think of something. I don't know what that looks like yet. Keep yourself safe. Think about not just yourself, though. Think about the other people in your community who are affected by the decisions that you make. We are all in this together. It's really true. We're all so connected these days. The decisions that you make are not just about you, ever. Okay? It's about the community as a whole, the world as a whole. And it sounds really cheesy, and maybe you don't believe it, believe me, I was cynical in the same way as a young person. But as I've gotten older, I realized the truths of some of these very cliched statements. And well, that's all I wanted to say. I love you all very much, and I want you all to be well. And part of that, I think, is behaving responsibly. And so I think canceling classes is the right move. If you disagree, let me know. We can talk it out, okay? This is all very fluid, this situation. But I think we are all strong enough as a community to adapt. And I think going forward, I think things will be okay, at least as far as this class is concerned. All right, I love you, and hopefully that document camera gets here, and hopefully we'll start learning some real math. Okay, bye.